Day one, no food, starving. I wish I could cut my hair and shave. I'm not allowed. My family's not taking responsibility for my situation. And I can't take responsibility for this because I work in IT and I do athletic things and I eat a special way. I live in high rise apartments. That's what I do. But instead of doing that, I had to do all these workarounds for my family. So is that insane? Like, I'm just telling you, like, you have to develop your mind and your self image and stuff, and then you have to make the outside world reflect the inner world. That's part of growing up. But I'm not taking responsibility for my situation because I can't. I didn't choose this. By the time I'm 39 years old, I chose to have a family. I chose to own real estate. That's why I chose to go to college and work in my field 20 years ago. And one thing led to another with all these distractions and workarounds for my family, for my father, my narcissist mother, all these workarounds, odd jobs and moving around and forced relocations and delaying. And I realized my family was putting that responsibility onto me the whole time, and I didn't realize it. Like when I agreed to take a job to go work for the government for my family, that was for them. I didn't give a shit about government stuff. That was just they needed me to pay for my own food and cost of living while I was trying to get ready to go to college, community college. And I thought I was just doing them a favor while they were getting their finances in order so they could support me, because you can't support yourself through college if your life is really expensive and you don't have anything. So I realized, in order to do things correctly for all future generations, you got to have basic needs met, and I never even had a car that worked for me or a home that worked for me. I never even knew how to live. So yeah, I just need to get away from my toxic family. That's the biggest problem in my life. Part of detoxing is, getting toxic people out of your life. But if you depend on them, that's really horrible. Yeah, my dream is just to not need anything from my family and to be totally self-sufficient. And I don't see any other way to do that without trucking at this point, which is really sad. But it would cost $300,000 to set me up to go back to college, and it would probably cost another $100,000 at least to get me working in my field. Working in my field in a financially sustainable manner where I can continue my education and advance in my career. $400,000. So it would have been a lot less if I'd been raised right and given all the things I needed from a family growing up. Then it probably would have been $100,000 or something. Yeah, which is doable. I've thought about the numbers over the years, and I didn't want to face the reality of just how expensive it is, especially with inflation. Just how expensive it is to be born into the wrong family. It's just so damn astronomically expensive. That's why you have generational poverty. People give up on their dreams, and they're like, "Fuck it, I'll just start a family now. Fuck it, I'm getting old. I'll just give up on my dreams. I'll lower my standards. I'll just work at Walmart I'll just work at the gas station, and give up on my future." A great scene in the movie Fight Club where I don't know how you would search for it, but guys working at a gas station or something, convenience store, the convenience store clerk, and the main character Tyler Durden takes him out back and points a gun to his head and asks him, "What do you want to be when he grows up?" And he said, the clerk says, "I wanted to be a veterinarian." And Tyler Durden takes his wallet with his ID and his home address and says he's going to check back on him. And if he's not on the path to becoming a veterinarian, he's going to kill him. I think that might be the scene. Tyler if you would search for it on YouTube, Fight Club Scene Veterinarian would probably bring that up. But it's this idea like you only have so much time, you gotta really act like there's a gun to your head. So that's what I'm doing here, because there is a metaphorical gun to my head. Apparently in 2 weeks, or no, in a week, my father's gonna try to send his thugs over here to haul me off to a government dungeon. That's crazy. So, but I can't go back trucking if don't fix the mistakes that were made last time. Last time I let my family rush me into a truck unprepared. And then because I was unprepared, I wasn't able to get out of subsistence in the truck. And I did this for many years, just sick in a truck, disabled in a truck. And so trucking you're not paid to just lay around in the truck. You have to drive the truck. And it's probably one of the most physically demanding occupations outside of like the skilled trades. It's an endurance sport, trucking. It's not like driving a car. It's not like driving a Lexus on the freeway. It's heavy machinery operating for long stretches of time, where the margin for error is very slim, and if you make a mistake, people die, and you die. So it's not like driving around town in your BMW. Trucking is very intense, physically demanding, and requires total concentration and focus. It's not like you just get to listen to podcasts all day and zone out. The roads are not like they used to be. The traffic is insane. The regulations and traffic enforcement is insane. The deadlines and everything is booked, computerized. The schedules are computer optimized to get as much out of the driver every day as possible, and it's highly competitive because there's a low barriers to entry. So it's a very stupid occupation to get involved in. It's not something you just willy-nilly, it's not something you go from like working at the video store into into trucking, or working as a clerk at the convenience store. It's something you got to prepare for, kind of like going into a combat operation in the military or something. So my family's always tried to set me up to be ill prepared and set me up into a do or die scenario, or white knuckle scenario, where you're white knuckling or fly by the seat of your pants. That doesn't work in trucking. It's kind of like operating an airline pilot, as an airline pilot. Can you imagine a pilot that doesn't bring the equipment he needs to make the flight, and doesn't inspect the equipment, and isn't careful with the his health and everything? Like, he's gonna not be a good pilot. He's gonna crash the plane and kill somebody. So it's the same with trucking. So I'm just trying to I figured out over the years what I need with my body and my needs and there's the operating the truck, and then there's and doing the job. And there's also just the lifestyle of living in a truck. You don't leave the truck for the only time you leave the truck is, to fuel, disconnect and connect trailers, loading, unloading. The rest of the time you're spent trapped in this little box. And if you don't have everything you need in that box, it's going to make it a living hell, and it's going to affect your performance. And I had this problem where I just could never work the full 11-hour shift they wanted me to drive. I could only drive like 7 hours a day, and it was fine, but I was leaving money on the table every day. They would schedule me so that I can work 11 hours a day and maximize my income. And let's say I had to work 7 hours a day just to break even with the cost of living in the truck, and I'm not working that extra 3 hours every day. I'm not saving any money. And then I can't save any money, so then I can't buy the stuff I need to work those extra 3 hours a day. Because there's equipment I need in order to live in the truck sustainably long term. You have to have your diet under control, your sleep under control, total control. Your hygiene, your physical training. You have to do physical training in the truck. You have to do resistance bands and weights and stuff in the truck to keep your body strong, because there's no exercise. And then your comms and communication and stuff, your media. For these long drives, you have to have something to keep your mind busy. If you're just staring at the road, in silence or listening to some horrible, you have to have like systems in place to make everything comfortable and functional. It's a whole it's like going on a space station or going on a submarine. Getting on a truck, it's like going to the International Space Station. You got to bring all your supplies and equipment with you because you can't get it on the road. Yeah, you can stop at Walmart and you can shop at Walmart, but Walmart doesn't carry hardly anything as far as like the equipment I need. I've looked. I'm extremely familiar with all the inventory in the Walmart. I've studied every aisle in the entire store extensively across the whole country, and it's just not the right stuff, and it's not the good value for money compared to what you can get on Amazon. So, and other places. So my father has this idea that he's gonna rush me into a truck, destitute. I guess he thinks I'm going to go unshaven to a job interview. When you go to orientation at a trucking company, that's a job interview. You got to dress right and look right. Because every orientation I've been to, they bring people into orientation and they don't run the background checks and stuff or interview. There's an interview. It's an interview process for a job. They make it seem like they already hired you, but they didn't actually hire you until you get through orientation. And then they cut people loose. This happened to me. It's nasty. It's a nasty practice. They'll give you a bus ticket. They'll give you a bus ticket home if you're lucky. But I've seen this at every trucking company I've been to. They bring a bunch of people in from wherever to come to the orientation. They think they have a job, but they haven't even started the process yet because it costs these companies money to run a background check on candidates. So from an economic business perspective, it's cheaper to force them to come in on their own costs. And then if they get hired, they get reimbursed for their transportation to get to the orientation. They have it structured in such a way so they can't lose money. And it's very cruel because these people think they have a job. And then they show up at orientation and they find out it's on like the second day, their background check, something came back and they don't have a job. And then if it's a good company, they'll give them a bus ticket to get home on a Greyhound. So, which is horrible. But these trucking companies treat their people like dirt. So you have to go into it with a certain mindset and a certain level of preparedness and capability to change companies if it gets nasty, and to live out of a truck. It's very alternate, very strange way of living. So I need my family to let me get the equipment I need to get my sleep under control. There's equipment I need to sleep properly in the hotel room and in the truck. There's equipment I need to eat properly and cook and store food and procure food and store it on the truck. There's equipment I need to to drive the truck, like seat cushions and phone mounts and things, charge cables, different gear, audio equipment, different things, driving gloves. I mean, it's a list. It's a huge shopping list. I threw all this stuff away because my mother told me I'm not allowed to rent a car when I was in Dallas. She told me she wasn't going to support me to rent a car. So I was like, okay, I'm going to throw thousands of dollars of equipment in the dumpster. I literally took thousands of dollars of my trucking equipment and threw it in the dumpster. That wasn't my choice. That was my mother's choice. She didn't want me. I would have rented a car, but she didn't want me to do that. I guess she was trying to save some money or something. So this is a toxic relationship I have with my abusive family, and I just want nothing more to do with them. I just thought in times of crisis, you go home to your family. So I guess not. I guess in times of crisis, you just lay in the street and die, I guess. I didn't know that. That's something new. It's a new concept to me. But that trucking company I was at wasn't working for me. We could have tried some things to see if I could make it work, but we didn't even want to try that. I was rushed into that last trucking job by my family because I was trying to save them on the rent for the apartment they didn't want me to use. They rented me an apartment for a year. I couldn't use it. I was just laying on the floor and sick and disabled in an apartment, empty apartment. So they turned what could have been an amazing fresh start for me into a survival scenario. And that's what they've been doing to me my entire life, and then not taking responsibility for it. Oh, he's a grown man. He's a grown man. He just needs an empty apartment. Meanwhile, I have no way to furnish that home for myself. I've never had any money. So I wasn't trying to make money all these years. I'm just trying to survive in a truck, survive in this job, survive in that job, trying to get ready to go to college. And waiting for my family to get their shit together so they can support their sons to get an education, so they can enter the labor force. Every job I've ever had, I never saw myself as participating in the American labor force. I just saw myself as helping my family out from with this odd job and that odd job, dabbling in some nonsense, all the different jobs I'd done for my family. Just dabbling in it for my family because that was the pressure they put on me to do for them. I didn't realize they were thinking I was going to become financially independent from them, making $12 an hour, paying 50% of my income to rent. That's crazy. So now I see it. I've done the math. I've crunched the numbers. And it sucks I have to be a trucker. I really wanted to work in computers and IT. That's what I find passion. And if you don't have passion for your occupation, you're not going to be able to compete with people who do, So I'm out there competing with guys who grew up driving trucks on the farm, and their dad was a trucker, and their grandfather was a trucker, and they're saving up to buy their own truck, and they just love trucking, I don't give a fuck about trucks. In fact, if a woman finds me attractive because I drive trucks, I find that unattractive. I find that as a turnoff. Let me say that again. If a woman finds me attractive because I'm driving trucks, I find that aspect of her unattractive, and it's a turnoff. I do not find the kind of women that I like. They're classy ladies. They're not blue collar women, okay? And I find that unattractive. I don't want to make friends with people in trucking, in the industry. I don't find it interesting in the slightest. But I do know how to do the job, and it would be foolish for me to throw my CDL away because there's no other kind of employment I can do with this body as unhealthy as I am. And I tried working for a minimum wage, and there's no way to save money and build what I need for myself. It costs $60,000 to furnish a home for me. I need a $40,000 car. I should probably have two $40,000 cars because you should always have a spare car in case one is going in the shop or something. And then, where do you want to live? What kind of thing what kind of activities do you want to have in your life? Where you live? Do you want to live in rural America? I can't stand living in the countryside. As a single man, who's so I studied the whole country, and I belong in a major city, and I'm an urban dweller, city dweller. I'm not a country person. It'd be nice to have a country home, a vacation home, or like a homestead or something. But that's something you do later in life after you've made money. So then you move to the countryside, or you buy a property in the countryside as a second property. But I'm a high-rise dweller. I work in computers and technology. That's just who I am. That's my identity, and no one's going to change that. No amount of pressure or abuse is going to change my identity. Once you form an identity over decades, you can't change it. So I have to reconcile my reality with my internal psychological identity, and so I have to get everything for myself that my family should have provided for me, and redo the last 20 years. You can't really redo it though. But if I go back trucking, I can, save all the money, if I do it right, intelligently, with a plan. I never had a plan all the times I did it before. There was no long-term plan. It was just trying to get to the next Walmart so I can buy yogurt. That was really the extent. Trying to get to the truck stop so I can get a shower. Just trying to survive in a truck. Try not to get fired, and try not to hit anything, that was all I was trying to do, trying to be comfortable in the truck, in poverty. So now I'm going to approach it from a different perspective, which is, let's do this as a professional. I find myself in this horrible occupation, trucking. It can be a tremendous opportunity, or it can be a death sentence. But we can turn it into a tremendous opportunity. I just got to go about it the correct way, and with the experience and knowledge that I have, and have a long-term vision of how would I get out of the truck? How would I be able to get rid of my CDL? Because I can't stand. I don't want to be a trucker. So, but there's nothing else I can do. So I need my family to support me to get the equipment I need, and if they don't want to pay for it, that's fine. I mean, I'm willing to pay for it. It's a good deal for me to borrow the money, so at whatever it costs. So because what else am I gonna do? Yeah, so I don't see life worth living if I can't be who I am. I'm not going to become who I'm supposed to be if I can't save thousands, tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars eventually. And so it's a long-term goal, and every week that goes by, I'm being tortured here in this hotel. They're stealing another week off my life. You only get so many weeks in your lifespan, your productive lifespan. So they're stealing from me everything that is most sacred to me. They've stolen my narcissist family. They've stolen my health. They've stolen my youth. They've stolen my childhood. They've stolen everything that I love, my relationships, my ability to have relationships, my health, everything that I cherish, and everything that makes life wonderful. They've taken from me, and I'm just trying to get some agency and choose where my future goes from here. And I'm just telling them how we could do that. I just have to go back trucking, but they're trying to shoehorn me into the first truck that I find, into a survival scenario with a dental infection and paycheck to paycheck, starving. That scenario, I won't be able to save money that way, and I'll probably end up getting fired. So being forced to quit, like my last job. So we have to approach things intelligently in a different way this time. If they truly want me independent from them, this is how we do it. But they actually don't want me to be independent from them. My narcissist family, they want me dependent on them forever. So that's part of the game. Everything's a game with these people. And I'm just get so tired of them. So yeah, I look forward to the day where I can delete my family from my phone, delete my father from my phone, and just know that if there's a problem, I can change I have the money, because I don't have credit cards. I burn my credit for my family. My mother told me to go ahead and destroy my credit, stop making those payments. So I did. I stopped paying my credit cards, and so now my credit's ruined for the next 7 years. So I can't even rent a car, or tap into the vast pool of money that's available to people with good credit. So yeah, I just need a normal starting point, and I'll go my own way, and I'll just go back trucking. And it's going to take me 10 years to get to where I should have been financially and everything when I was 18, because by the time you're 18, you should be equipped to go out there and, either go to trade school or go to college or whatever. And in my family, they wouldn't even equip me to go to 7th grade. So college was totally out of the question. But so that's what we have to do. I need my family to let me get moved into the hotel, get the internet here, get back online, and get the medical services and things I need, get with a lot of on the computer, to get ready to go back trucking. And I promise I'll never talk to them again. And that's what I want. And I don't want to ever talk to my family ever again. Anybody in my family, they're all horrible people. Really, they really are horrible people. I didn't know people could be this nasty, but they really are just the worst. And I don't want to have to think about them or see them ever again. And the only way we're going to do that is if I can go back trucking. And that'd be best for everybody at this point.